Hello there.
Star Wars fans have wanted Ewan McGregor to return as Obi-Wan for a long time. When Disney announced in 2012 that they were not only making the sequel trilogy, but standalone films, we got our hopes up. While we never got a standalone film, we are finally getting more Obi-Wan in his own limited series on Disney+. And while I'm looking forward to the series, I keep thinking about the ideas I had in 2012 for an Obi-Wan movie, one that drew inspiration from the same place that George Lucas got a lot of his for the original film. So all that said, I want to pitch my idea and see what people think. Let's do this. I'm excited for this. I haven't done a story pitch video all year, which is ironic because it's the kind of stuff that I launched my channel doing, so it kind of feels like coming home a little. Also, I don't know how much you'll be able to see it, but I am holding a sword and will be for the entire video for no reason. So like I said, this was an idea I originally had for a movie back in 2012, but it's something that could easily be done as a mini-series now. So we're gonna adjust it, adapt it to the current climate, Star Wars wise, not outside, and see what y'all think. So I think it's safe to say that we all know that Star Wars has pulled heavy influence from samurai films. George Lucas was heavily influenced by Akira Kurosawa films in particular when he was making A New Hope, and you still see the ripple effects in the samurai-tinged anime in Visions and the thematic pastiche of Lone Wolf and Cub that is the basis for The Mandalorian. He even wanted Toshiro Mifune, one of Akira Kurosawa's staple actors, to be in A New Hope, but was turned down. So when I picture an Obi-Wan story, I'm picturing a reimagining of another Kurosawa samurai classic, Yojimbo. If you aren't familiar, Yojimbo is a Kurosawa film about a ronin who travels to a small town where two criminal organizations are competing to try and take it over. It's a story that's been redone several times, including the classic western A Fistful of Dollars and the Bruce Willis prohibition film Last Man Standing. I feel like this is a great fit for Obi-Wan because I feel like even with his character in hiding, he could definitely be persuaded to help a small village that needs him. So, with the basic premise laid out, we can start filling it with all that Star Wars flavor. First off, the rival crime organizations. Now, the obvious answer would just have it be Jabba the Hutt versus Darth Maul and the Crimson Dawn, but I want to tweak that a little. I don't want to include Maul because while in general I think he is a great antagonist to Obi-Wan, media outside of the films has done that several times already, and I feel like it's kind of beating a dead horse when he's been included so much and so well in Clone Wars and other media, and I don't want to taint that. Which is too bad because his presence in The Phantom Menace is definitely one of the best parts of that film, but the Crimson Dawn still work as a thematic tie-in, and we can use them without using him, so we don't have to mess up that timeline he has with Obi-Wan. We can have this operation being led by Kira, the character from Solo, who is implied to be joining the organization at the end of that film, and I believe there is some precedence for her actually being a big player in the organization in extended media, but I haven't consumed all of that, so I'm not going to address it. And the great thing about Kira is she is a character with a lot of room to grow. There's a general premise there, but unlike someone like Darth Maul who has been used several times and has developed a lot more to them, we have not a blank canvas, but somewhere with a lot more room to grow in Kira. I am also going to be sticking to the Hutts, but we're not going to use Jabba. I think another Hutt, someone who is maybe a cousin or something like that to Jabba, would work because it again, I think it would fit the vibe of a crime family, which would be classic mob stuff to use. Again, I want to use elements that are familiar, but can be reworked as needed. Essentially what they did with The Mandalorian in Season 1, where it's not Boba Fett, but they do a lot of things that are reminiscent of Boba Fett, but without tainting that character, like they did in Boba Fett.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
So in general, I've been trying to avoid anything to do with the series because I don't want to be spoiled. I want to go in as blind as possible. Like, as of writing this, I haven't even seen the trailer, although I'm sure I'm going to have to watch it to pull clips for this video. But that being said, there are things that I know because you can't escape news on the internet anymore. I know Lars Brew and Darth Vader are all going to be involved in the series, and I'm inclined to do so as well. As far as I know, they are major characters that are going to be in the whole season, but I'm going to use them a lot more sparing. And if this was a movie pitch, I probably wouldn't use them, but being that we have 6 hours to play with in the limited series format, why not? Let's go crazy. We're not going crazy. I'm going to be quite restrained with this. Lars and Brew would have scenes bookending the series in episodes 1 and 6, maybe something else around episode 2 or 3, essentially just showing the life they have with a very young Luke. I am inclined to give them something where they interact more heavily with Obi-Wan, but that's because as a fan of Joel Edgerton, I can't picture including him in something and not let him do his thing. Let the man cook. As for Vader, I don't want him actually taking part in the story. And here's why. I like the idea of Anakin showing up to Obi-Wan in a handful of like nightmare sequences. For one, because the best part of Hayden Christensen's performances in the prequels is when he gets to do that menacing stare. And I think giving him opportunities to do that are way more interesting than putting in the, albeit more iconic, Darth Vader iconography. Plus, in general, I'm someone who likes surrealism in his films, and the few times that Star Wars has touched on that has been cool, and I would love more of it. More of that weird mysticism. That's my jam. Okay, as for the setting, obviously we have to put it on Tatooine because even though I'm sure we're all tired of desert planets, where else are you going to set it? Specifically though, I want to set it on Mos Pelgo, the mining town featured in The Mandalorian. I, in general, wanted to set it in a mining town because I like the idea of the two factions. I like the idea of these two sides trying to control a mining town, looking to drain any profits out of it. And I was thinking that before I remembered that there already is a canon one on Tatooine, so why not tie that into the town that has already been established? That said, I don't want to spend all of our time on Tatooine. I think that would be boring visually for 6 episodes. Partially because, like I said, all desert everything is boring. But not only that, I don't really think Obi-Wan, while trying to keep a low profile, would be doing any crazy lightsaber fights on Tatooine where he's trying to, like I said, keep a low profile. And I do think that the series should focus more on subterfuge and sneaky force tricks, but at the same time, if you're watching a Star Wars show about a Jedi, you have to put laser swords in somewhere. I think he only needs to have 2 scenes where he pulls out the saber. One in an isolated location on the planet where he can do so safely, and then he just mows down all of the enemies, whether they be droids or people, if we're willing to let him do that evil murder stuff. And the second would be off-world. I think another main location for this series would be a ship orbiting the planet where Kira and her inner circle are staying because they don't want to be stuck on the sand planet the entire time. Relatable. So eventually Obi-Wan would go up there to negotiate at first, some peace treaty stuff, but eventually be forced to fight for his survival. It would be an interesting parallel to the opening of Phantom Menace, because as we know,
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
and for the record, just because we've only got 2 lightsaber battles in this pitch doesn't mean we've only got 2 battles. I do want, our 2 crime organizations to be able to go at each other. You need that. And that's more or less how I pictured the show. The Hutt dies, then Obi-Wan drives out the Crimson Dawn, settling the conflict and saving the town. Obi-Wan returns to his hermit life, and maybe we get a tease for potential Sanjuro adaptation because it's the pseudo-sequel to Yojimbo. But we're not done yet, because we still have to do what Star Wars does best and worst, fan service. I already included some fan servicey stuff as we've gone along, but I don't think that's enough for Star Wars. I think we need to sprinkle a few more useless references in to really embody Star Wars. I'm really making it sound like I'm not a fan of this franchise, I'm just doing this because it's what's expected. Okay, number one, a tease to a potential Darth Vader series. Do I think they should make one? No. Do I think they should definitely have that set in to see how audiences would react to that? Absolutely. That sounds exactly like what Disney Lucasfilms would do. 2. A Kira and Darth Maul scene. Yeah, I said I don't want to put them in, but I can't resist the idea of them having a conversation and including him once, because again, he's too iconic, both as a character and honestly just visually, to not have him play a role. But we gotta keep it small. We gotta keep it small. 3rd, a kid version of Cobb Vanth. This is actually the one that I think is most interesting and doable, and not because I think it would be good, like, nostalgia bait to a character who's just been introduced, but I think that it could create a cool thematic parallel. He could develop a relationship with Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan could teach Cobb all of the moral goodness that he can't impart into Luke, giving us a glimpse at what would happen if Obi-Wan was a more active part of Luke's child. And finally, a scene where Obi-Wan officially takes the name Ben. I hate this one the most, but yet here we are. So that's my whole pitch. I would love to know what you thought about it, or if you were making an Obi-Wan standalone, what you would do. So leave that in the comments. A like on the video would be great. And until next time, have a good one.